How good is this? Women in Change is going live. Streaming. How good is this? Good. Welcome everybody. My name's Amy Cobb. I'm a proud member of Women in Change. I've met a lot of you over the last couple of years. Thank you. Today is the Goosebump Day for all of us as we hear from some incredible organisations who are doing amazing work here in Queensland. So I hope you've got the tissues. This is the most exciting day for us of the year. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to our elders past, present and emerging. Thank you so much to Hear and Say for having us today. Can we just give them a quick clap because they have just, aside from Cherie just absolutely saving our bacon with the technical stuff, we really do appreciate the kind invitation and hospitality here this evening. We are on a really tight ship and I'm going to just do a few housekeeping things and then we'll get cracking into the exciting stuff. We have our Zoom ladies at home. Hi girls, it's really nice that you can join us today. There's a camera up the back and hopefully you'll be able to see all of the presentations and hear everything along the way. We're secretly really jealous that you are wearing your active wear while we've all had to get dressed up, but it's nice to get dressed up as well. But thank you for making the effort to join us. I'm going to hand over to Narelle, who is our Deputy Chair, and she's going to say a couple of quick words about Women in Change, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Thanks, Narelle.
Thanks, Amy, and I'm not sure how quick I'll be, but I need to fill you in on a few things. So Jen Fraser firstly says, sorry, she's not here for voting night. She will meet us at Kettle and Tin, however. So this is the 6th consecutive Women in Change voting night, so welcome to everyone. For us, this is the best night of the year. We get to hear firsthand from these 3 amazing and worthy finalists who will present their work to us and describe how they would spend the main grant of $50,000 to meet the needs of vulnerable Queenslanders. I'm so pleased to announce tonight that due to the generosity of members in the room and Zooming and the ones that can't be here, that we have an additional $14,950 to be shared equally between the other 2 finalists. I'd particularly like to welcome new members with us tonight. Of our 68 members, 17 are new to Women in Change. And you have all decided to join this collective giving community, which essentially means together we create more impact than we can do alone. And the funds we've donated are allocated immediately and directly to those charities so they can get on with their vital work in 2021. So a good deal has happened with Women in Change this year. Our new website was launched in February and a vote of thanks must go to Louise Bell-Chambers who went above and beyond to get that happening. We had a great launch event in March and we're very hopeful from that we could double our membership numbers in 2020. But then COVID came along and we had to rethink how to connect with members and potential members this year. So the Zoom world, as you can see, came to Women in Change. And we used this platform to host our Conversations with Women in Change series in July and August. So I hope some people tuned into that. And if you didn't, we still have it on our YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. I can't even say it. But thanks to Bridget, who's taken us forward with all of that. Our speakers, Sarah Davies, Ronnie Khan and Joe Thomas were seriously impressive speakers and they spoke to us about the critical role of philanthropy in their particular sectors and specifically about their responses to COVID. In October, members and friends took part in a packing event for Brisbane Baby Give Back, our 2019 grant recipients. This was a really rewarding activity that brought home to all of us how our giving has direct impact. It's also part of a broader strategy, which we'll follow up next year. That is to facilitate other opportunities where we can directly connect with the charities we support. None of these activities would happen without a dedicated volunteer committee. So I will ask the people on the committee to stand up as I say their name. So Secretary, Sarah Goodman, and Treasurer, Amanda Sartor. Grants Subcommittee, Rachel Stewart and Diana Gillies. Events and Communication Subcommittee, Bridget Delahunty and Janine Cullen, except I think Janine's still outside. And then Amy Cobb and I are partners in the membership subcommittee. And of course, we're ably led by Jen Fraser. Please give, oh, you have, thanks for giving everyone a round of applause. So the AGM is on Monday night, 16th of the 11th, and if you're interested, then please sign in via Eventbrite. It's interesting to hear, get an overview of the year, and also nominate to be a committee member if you can. So another piece of news I need to fill you in on is that there's going to be a significant shift for Women and Change in 2021, as we'll be locating to a new home for our sub-fund arrangements. So McCulloch Robertson have generously supported us over the last 6 years, and we thank them immensely for that. But this will come to an end as their foundation is wound up in 2021. This is a strategic decision of McCulloch's, and but they will continue their community partnerships program and pro bono commitment, but without the structure and administration of the foundation. The only change for members will be where you deposit your funds and who provides the tax receipt. Our search for a new arrangement is well underway, and we're really confident that we'll get another great situation in place. So please hold back all you early birds on your 2021 membership fee until you're advised of further information in the new year. Okay, last thing from me, the grant. And this is the really important part about it all. So we received 72 EOIs this year, which is double actually what we received last year. So it speaks volumes about the areas of unmet need in our Queensland community, and actually highlights how we really all need to be committed to growing Women and Change in the future. So we'd all love to be in a position tonight, after you hear everyone speaking, to be giving 150 grand to these charities. So please take it as your challenge to double or triple our membership in 2021. And I'm actually going to take great pleasure in handing over the microphone now to the last year's past recipients, They Give Back. And they've done an amazing job in continuing and pivoting operations during COVID. And Carly, it is not a prerequisite to work at Baby Give Back to have a Carly name, but there are a few Carlys. And we'll overview what's been achieved to date with last year's grant. Thank you.
Thank you. I might get started while we're getting the slides up because I know we're in a tight time frame. Hello everyone. We are incredibly grateful to have been the recipient of the Women and Change grant last year. It's made an incredible difference for us and enabled us to launch Baby Give Back into Brisbane. I remember being at the event in March, celebrating Women and Change's new website and launch, and we were all kind of laughing about that COVID and that it was really not going to impact us all that much. We thought it was a joke. The joke was real, and we found ourselves in a situation only a couple of weeks after that event where we actually had to close our wet house to volunteers. We had to stop our volunteers in Brisbane accepting donations at their homes. Many of them had vulnerable family members, and we were really quite concerned about what we were going to do. We immediately went to our community and asked for support. We had incredible support, and the Women and Change Committee were incredible in supporting us and allowing us to pivot what our plan was in Brisbane and with the grant funds, because obviously COVID made some of our plans impossible to implement as we had planned to. So we were able to extend the period within which we are going to use those grant funds and change the way that we're operating in Brisbane so that we didn't have to rely on volunteers collecting in their homes during lockdown and times like that. And I'm really, really excited to say that in 2020 so far, we have made a bigger impact in Brisbane than we anticipated before COVID. A lot of that is due to the support of Women in Change, allowing us to be flexible and do what was needed most, and trusting us that we knew how our operations needed to pivot. So I'm really, really grateful for that. One of the really exciting things for us in 2021 is that we haven't lost momentum, we've gained momentum, and we feel like we're in a position to be able to be there to support the incredible amount of need that's out there and the need that's been caused by COVID. Our Brisbane operations are well on track to be far ahead of where we actually even hoped they'd be at the end of this year. I'm going to hand over to Carly to tell you more about that. But the exciting announcement I have tonight as well is that the grant enabled us to employ Carly as in a casual position for Baby Give Back. And she has grown our operations to a point that we've actually been able to offer her, and Carly has accepted a full-time position with Baby Give Back next year.
I just have a few photos on our slides. I'm really excited about what we've been able to achieve in 2020, and I'm really looking forward to 2021. Very quick overview of what we've been able to do out of our storage shed in Sumner Park. I'll take you through a few things. So we've been able to establish a really great base of volunteers in Brisbane. We have regular volunteers coming each week. We've been able to host corporate volunteering opportunities where I've been able to go out to different places, and we had a great night doing some packing of Safe Start boxes with a wonderful group of Women in Change women earlier in the year. And then we've got some key volunteers taking on some more responsibilities as well, which is really good. In our shed, we've also we've increased our storage capacity. We now have 3 sheds, which is fantastic and enables us to store more items and have everything there ready to go out to families. Today, 11 orders went out. If you watch that Instagram story today, you would have seen a loading dock was full of cots and car seats and prams and clothing boxes. So our shed, Paul, who manages storage spaces on the park, is phenomenal. I said to him last week, Paul, I need more space to get us through to January. He's like, I'm on it, and he rang me back 20 minutes later, and I had another space. So he just goes above and beyond to help us out as well. So we have volunteers in each week, caseworkers come and collect their orders, which is great for the volunteers to see too. They love to hear the stories, and the caseworkers are really happy to stop and have a bit of a chat to them as well. We've changed the way we collect items in Brisbane. So we used to have volunteers in their homes collect for us and take down to the warehouse, but we've been able to bring Katie on board as our collections coordinator, and she manages monthly collections at childcare centres once a month around Brisbane. So COVID really enabled us to sit back and think about how we could do that better. So she's got a great army of volunteers that come each month. We've got a great partnership with Shift Buddies. They pack the truck, they take it all back to the warehouse for us. Our record is 120 donors dropping off items in a 2-hour period at Morningside. So it's fast, it's furious, it's 2 hours, but it's amazing. And the donations that we get on those days really help to get those things straight back out to the caseworkers. We have formed a really great relationship with so many different agencies across Brisbane this year. We've been able to support families who've escaped domestic violence, foster carers, families impacted by COVID, refugees, just to name a few. We've been able to provide items to families seeking reunification and mums who've been released from prison. We've been able to provide clothes for a toddler who lives with a 20-year-old single dad, and formula and bottles to young Indigenous mums who've been watering down their formula to make it last longer. One of the caseworkers who collected today, she's only found out about us probably within the last month, and she's done 4 collections in that time. And she's just so incredibly grateful to not just Baby Give Back, but she understands that there's an army of volunteers and the people who donate. And she gave me the biggest hug today. She goes, I know I'm not supposed to hug you. And she gave me the biggest hug, and she's just like, the difference that you make in the lives of these people is unbelievable. And she can't even put it into words. So, and that's something we see every week. We've managed to secure meetings and make connections with all levels of government this year as well. Our local councillor, the state and federal MPs in our area. We had a really promising meeting with the Lady Mayoress, who's the chair of the Lord Mayor's Charitable Trust. So we've got lots of things in the pipeline for next year. But this is what's happened out of the shed this year. We've helped 269 children. That was at the end of October. So we've had 2 Thursdays since then. So that number's more like 300 children from the shed this month. That's nearly over $100,000 worth of items. 100 safe start boxes, the boxes that you guys packed that night, 121 clothing boxes, 29 safe sleep spaces. It's amazing. These numbers are incredible, and it wouldn't be possible without Women in Change. And I'm really excited about next year. I'm really excited to be working full-time with Baby Give Back and expanding our volunteering opportunities. We're on the hunt for a bigger space so that we can host volunteers more regularly. And our impact in Brisbane is because of your generosity, and we are extremely grateful. Thank you.
Carly. Now, which Carly stands for drinks? This Carly. Oh, we've got 2 out of 3 Carlys coming for drinks. Yeah, we've got 2 out of 3. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. So we will have time to have a good chat at Kettle and Tin with Baby Give Back. We're just going to get fired up, ready for our next prezzo. So, Evelyn, wait, where's it? Oh, okay. So we're doing 8 minutes, and you'll get a warning bell from Evelyn. She's up the back here. She will. Can you hear that? Oh, yeah. That's nice. Yes. Yeah. You'll hear the bells. You'll hear the bells at 8 minutes. That will signal you to start. You've got 2 minutes to go, so start the sort of wrap up process, and then we'll have time for questions. We'll have time for about 2 questions, and we're going to whip through our 3 finalists, and then we'll break for tallying the votes. So I'm not going to hold up proceedings any further. I'd like to welcome Jo from Brisbane Connection Hub, 4 Voices, to give her pitch. Thank you. Welcome, Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo West. This is Helen Winter. Helen's our company secretary on our board, and I wrote her in at the last minute to help with the presentation. About 6 years ago, my son and his best mate put 2 washing machines and 2 dryers in the back of their old van and started washing clothes for people who were experiencing homelessness in and around Brisbane. They started this organisation you may have heard of called Orange Sky. Now, they were only 19 at the time. They didn't know a lot about washing. I can tell you that they don't. But so they wrote me and said, "Hey, Mum, would you come in as our CEO, or as I like to call myself, the top loader?" Anyway, it was an absolute privilege to be part of that organisation. Fast forward 6 years, and Orange Sky's got 30 vans, 2,000 volunteers. It's all over Australia and into New Zealand, doing so much good. It's been an absolute joy to be working not only with my son, of course, but to build such an amazing charity. But in the middle of last year, I decided that I needed to cut the umbilical cord for the 2nd time, which was a tragedy. But I really needed to follow my own passion. I needed to kind of swap the orange for purple. And I wanted to start a charity specifically to help women and girls in need. I wanted to start 4 Voices.
So put yourselves in the situation for a moment. It's 8 o'clock tonight and you've made the dramatic decision to leave your home. The fear that you experience in living under the same roof as your partner of 25 years is overwhelming and overpowering. You would prefer to take your chances and live on the streets rather than live in this terror for much longer. You don't tell anybody where you're going, and you definitely don't say what you're doing. Your fear is that you're going to be stopped, or even worse. You can't use your mobile phone, and you can't use your computer because you fear you're going to be tracked. Here you are, you're isolated. This is the ultimate disconnection.
I want you to meet a lady by the name of Gail. I met Gail about 3 years ago, but at the time I met her, I had no idea of the impact that she was going to have on my life, nor that she was going to be the inspiration for Core Voices. Now, Gail's father was an abusive man, and he took to her mother like a boxer takes to a punching bag, daily, viciously. It was back in the early 70s, you know, when domestic violence was hush-hush, wasn't talked about. So no neighbours, friends, family, doctors, not even the police intervened. Gail's mother was treated for mental health issues. She was given cocktails of drugs. She even got electric shock treatment to calm her down. The neighbourhood kids weren't allowed to visit because everybody knew what was going on. Gail was alone, totally disconnected. At the age of 6, she tried to take her own life.
So I'm just going to give you a few statistics, not too many, but these are very important for you to understand. So in 2016, there was a census which found that there was 116,000 homeless people in Australia on any given day. And that actually translates to 1 in 200 people being homeless in Australia. Of those 116,000 people that are homeless, about 56% of them are male and 44% of them are female. So if you translate that into actual numbers, 51,000 women are homeless in Australia. Take it another step further, of those 51,000, 33,000 are actually homeless because of domestic violence, of a domestic violence situation. They're disconnected and they're alone. Another staggering statistic is that 1.6 million Australian females are not online. In a world where technology is being heavily relied on to communicate, they are digitally isolated.
I was absolutely horrified by these statistics. And I thought, what if we were able to provide social and digital connection for girls and women in need? Somewhere that girls and women can connect, somewhere they can get support from people who care, somewhere they can access technology to make it easier for them to reach out, maybe even learn new skills, apply for new jobs. So I bought a van, roped in a few mates, and we set about the design to build and launch, which we did actually on the 8th of March 2020, which is International Women's Day. Little did I know that there was this thing around the corner called a world pandemic that was unlike any other. And it was about to change the world, and it was going to make social and digital isolation so much worse.
So a worldwide pandemic was not going to stop Joe. So Four Voices is all about connection. And we've just recently named our van Aurora. Now, Aurora means dawn or new beginning, and that's exactly what we want to give to the ladies and the girls that we support, a new beginning, a new start. And we're a new charity. And the coffee machine represents or symbolises the conversations that we have around the van. These are conversations made without judgment, made in a safe environment, without fear. And we spend time, there's a lot of chatting going on around the van, and we talk, we laugh, we trust each other, we sing and we dance, actually, that's been known to happen. And whatever, you can do whatever you want to do, whatever connection means to you.
So Gail, back to her, was lonely without any real form of connection. She started to run away from home at the age of 11. No one stopped her, no one cared, no one came after her. At the age of 12, she was viciously raped and left by the side of the road to die. It was her first sexual experience and the one that was going to change her life forever. Over the next decade, she spent in and around Sydney until she met a handsome, young African-American guy who she fell head over heels for, decided to throw caution to the wind and moved to San Francisco to marry this man. Life was really starting to look up for Gail.
So our lovely van Aurora, she's outfitted with Wi-Fi, 5 mobile phones, 20 laptops, a 55-inch TV screen, printer, copier, scanner, all of which people can use free of charge. And if they're not familiar with using the equipment, our lovely volunteers will actually show them how to do that as well. So we have 80 volunteers who take Aurora to 12 locations in Logan and Ipswich, and the van is actually out on the road every single day of the week. We have another 40 volunteers who are not necessarily based in Brisbane, they're all over Australia, and they do what we call a phone check-in with sometimes people that we've bumped into on the streets, but also other people who've connected with us online. So we offer that face-to-face connection as well as that check-in connection.
Gail had no phone, no computer in San Francisco. I mean, who was she going to call or who was she going to email anyway? Now, it turns out that her new man had been in Sydney on a recruiting mission. He was recruiting girls, working girls. So Gail found herself in a strange country, put to work as a prostitute and by her new husband, her pimp. Gail's life plummeted. She drifted in and out of homelessness and succumbed to a number of different drugs, the worst of which was heroin. Gail was homeless for a total of 28 years and addicted to drugs for 20. Her view of the world was from beneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and her bed was a discarded piece of cardboard. Homelessness, prostitution, drug addiction, totally shunned by the world, the ultimate disconnection.
So Four Voices is on the streets every day, and we are meeting people who may be too nervous or too embarrassed or even ashamed to ask for help. And many of the people that we meet actually struggle with English as well. So crossing the threshold into government offices, Centrelink offices, and even medical practices can be daunting. So we introduce, we advocate, we connect vulnerable girls and women to other services. No one organisation can solve the problem of homelessness and domestic violence, but together we can do this. We can influence young minds and educate older ones, and ultimately achieve some amazing results, all through the power of connection.
In 2011, Gail finally found connection, but it was an extraordinary way to find it. She was diagnosed with AIDS. She was taken to a hospice which was staffed by some amazing volunteers who nursed her back to health. She had her own room with her own bed, the first she had in nearly 3 decades. She found connection with other patients, she found connection with staff and volunteers. She found that she was worth fighting for. Now, Gail has emerged after 30 years of homelessness to a world where digital skills are critical to survival. She has no digital skills, no experience. What she does have is grit and determination. She has purchased...
We've hit 10 minutes. I'm sorry, you're in the middle of the most gorgeous story, but we have...
I've got 2 seconds to go.
Finish the sentence, thank you.
Okay, Gail's story can change the world. What we want to do, we want to use the Women and Change funding, if we're lucky enough to receive it, to build Aurora's Sister, a van that can help women and girls in Brisbane and the northern suburbs. We want to help women connect with technology. We want to help women find jobs. We want to help women find digital power through connection. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to stay for
how do you find where you're going to go? Like, how do you decide on that? Do you get invited to places, or is it what do you do?
We always partner with another service provider. So we go to places like crisis accommodation centre, women's shelters, women's refuges, homeless shelters. We also, during the pandemic, have struck an amazing relationship with Centrelink. The queues outside of Centrelink, as you know, have been horrendous. And the number of women that go there to seek crisis payments because they're trying to emerge from a difficult situation is extraordinary. So always partnering with another organisation for safety reasons, but also so that people can access multiple services from the same location. We know that the need in Brisbane and in the northern suburbs is far greater, and we're just here. It'd be amazing to be able to reach that.
Any other questions?
Gail, by the way, is no longer homeless. She's been drug-free for 9 years. She's here in Brisbane, and she believes that Four Voices, by telling her story through Four Voices, and I'm absolutely privileged to be writing her biography, that she can actually find meaning in her life through telling this story. Thank you.
Some of you will remember the Ride By Your Side story from last year, and it's really great to see, and Ronnie's here and Carly's here, sometimes, you know, third time lucky. It's really fantastic to see Ride By Your Side has been shortlisted again, so I'd love to invite Zilla to come up and take the mic and we'll get going. To move things around.
Yeah. Sorry, blind here.
Yeah,
Okay.
just that little arrow.
Good evening. Oh, no, one too many slides, okay. So my name is Priscilla Simpson, or Silla. I'm the Northern Queensland Program Manager for Shine for Kids. I'm a proud Waitangi woman from the Gulf area in Northern Queensland. And I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of this place that we meet on tonight, elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge the ongoing impact incarceration has on Aboriginal children, families and communities. 30% of all the children with a parent in prison that Shine currently supports are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander.
Can you hold the mic close to you? Thank you. It's for the online.
Sorry. Okay, so I've been with Shine for Kids for about 4.5 years now, and every day I wake knowing that I'm going to be doing a job that I'm passionate about. Before I started with Shine, I was asked what sector of the community services section I wanted to go into, and that question generally entailed, you know, aged care or early childhood. Never in my wildest dreams that I ever thought I'd be working with prisoners and their families. I remember the first time I entered the Townsville prison. Sorry, even when I practice, it still went wrong on me. I remember when the first day I drove into the Townsville prison and seeing the barbed wire fencing all around me, all I could think was, God, what have I gotten myself into? Still to this day, I'm still having a lot of issues with hearing those big heavy doors slam behind me when I go in, knowing I'm still coming back out at the end of it. At that time when I was employed with Shine, I was co-facilitating a program in both the men's and women's programs. I listened to the inmates talk about why they were in prison, talk about their upbringing, and talk about their families. Some of their stories about their own childhoods were sad and scary. Stories you think are made up for the best-selling horror movies. As part of that program, permission was given to bring family members in to join the graduation ceremonies. Sorry. We took in the children of one of the men, and it was a visit I'll never forget. Not because of the connections that these children obviously still had with their fathers, but that the prison life was perceived as a norm to these children. I heard this in the voice of an 8-year-old who was excited to be in the prison. This just reiterated to me the sad statistic that children of prisoners are 6 times more likely to end up in prison themselves. From that day, I was determined to help break that cycle of intergenerational offending. This child was exposed to domestic violence, drugs and alcohol abuse in his family home, the perfect setting to prove these statistics right and to grow. Thankfully, he has a supportive mother who wanted change for her family and moved her family to a smaller community with more family support around him as well. Shine for Kids now works in 5 female prisons in Queensland, offering a playgroup, parenting program and leadership program to the women in hope of breaking the incarceration cycle and keeping them connected to their children. Playgroup gives mums the opportunity to focus 100% of their attention on their children, and this is very much reciprocated through the smiles and giggles of their children, followed by tears as they leave. A report from the UK by Lord Farmer actually shows that just by having regular family visits, recidivism is reduced by 39%. Children of prisoners are the invisible victims of crime and often treated as criminals themselves through no fault of their own. The saddest part is that these children have harder paths to travel than most other children. Many are out of home care or face homelessness. They have poor educational outcomes and may have increased caring responsibilities of their younger siblings as well. They often feel stereotyped, isolated, alone and abandoned. Abandoned because they don't understand why their parents are not at home with them, why they can't see mum and dad every day like normal children do. They often miss those special days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, weekend family days out, Christmas even. Visits to the prison can be cold and scary and mostly unsupported. Shine supports these children to make visits as child-friendly as possible. The old saying, children should be seen and not heard, comes to mind when I think of the many questions children must have when it comes to visiting a parent in prison. They've probably asked why numerous times, but are often told to just not ask, or they're ignored, told to stop. These children are grieving for their parents, as we all do for those we've lost or can't be with anymore. Shine steps in at these times to help. Shine's Ride by Your Side program offers support, reliability and consistency for these children, as many carers are unable to facilitate visits due to domestic violence orders, relationship breakdowns, lack of transport, or the fear of visiting the prisons themselves. Often the processes of visiting and the paperwork is too daunting for a lot of the families to complete. Our staff and volunteers are trained to provide these to the children and to support the families for a period of 12 months, with mentoring ongoing for the children. Our volunteer transport mentors help with the Shine team, pick the child up from their home, transport them to the prison and support the child during the visit. The children are provided with age-appropriated booklets and given a chance to debrief by talking with their mentor in the car on the way back home again. If mum is released in that time frame, the support for the children still continues for 12 months. We aim to be a positive consistency through all the Shine programs when at times this is lacking in their own family, community or lives. In our Keeping Us Strong program, I tell the women, the only difference between you and me is a decision. I could find myself making a wrong decision just once, but the possibility of imprisonment as a result could be very real. If that were ever the case, I hope there was a service like Shine close by to support myself and my family. 2020 has been a year never seen before in our lifetime. We all want it to end soon and hope that we never have to experience it again. The isolation and distance children experience every day having a parent in prison and not being able to see them regularly or at all is a permanent COVID-19 situation for these children. As Shine for Kids, we believe that children of prisoners are children of promise, who with the right support will not just survive a difficult time, but thrive. Your investment in Shine's Ride by Your Side program means that so many more children will be able to keep those vital connections to their mothers and, more importantly, the opportunity to change those statistics. Together we can change this. Thank you.
Has anyone got a question? Narelle, you don't have a question? Just kick things off, Doug.
Along the
similar line that Narelle asked before. Like, how do you identify, what families need help?
In Townsville, we work primarily with Indigenous families up there with our education program. However, a lot of our referrals are sent to us through the actual prison themselves. We sort of take 3 of the programs in the prisons up there. We also do supported contact. For example, I'm organising one at the moment of a newborn baby. It's going from mum in prison over to dad. He hasn't met the baby yet, obviously. The child was born in custody. Children can stay in prison up until the age of 4. So we try to keep those connections going. If a child does come out, we do support the carers on the outside as well to make that reunification or that transition out of prison into civilian life as easy as we possibly can. They can pretty much come from anywhere, the referrals.
Annie?
Would the grant then cover the whole of Queensland, or is it just town?
No, it's only going to cover Brisbane.
Okay.
The right by your side. Sorry. No, it'll only cover Brisbane, this particular grant. Hopefully, down the track we can look at bringing that program into Townsville as well, but for now it'll be Brisbane.
And where exactly will the funds go to? I might have not been paying too much attention to exactly that point.
So it's the right way program here in Brisbane.
Yeah, but how will they be used in the right by side program?
That part I forgot to write and memorise the word.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that one, but I can definitely get those details to you if you would like those. My apologies, ladies.
Yes, Rach.
And I just wanted to ask about matching up the mentors to the children. Like, who do you normally, how do you source those mentors, and what sort of training is and vetting of those mentors can Shine provide?
Generally, it is a really rigid mentoring. We go on the programs that we operate in Townsville. We have a look at what the child needs, what the family needs, kind of thing, and then we find somebody that has those set skills, or we think that they could possibly lead them in the right direction. A lot of the children, because of the trauma that they have suffered with having incarceration, or even just in their homes, with the domestic violence and things, we try to find somebody who's going to be a little bit more tender, a bit more understanding, but give them that guidance that they want, the positive. We do have the training that we do up there with them. All volunteers are trained. They're all, they must have blue cards, they must have police checks, all the checks, because we are a child safe organisation, they must have all those checks before they're even looked at to go any further. So we work with them, we try and match up the right person with the right child. We just don't throw anybody in there really. Yeah.
Thank you, Phila. Do we just want to clarify the grant, Rach, do you want to clarify where the funding for this, what it's in the grant application? It was for staffing, a coordinator to run the program. So
coordinate the program and basically to all volunteers and get their mentors trained, setting up workshops for the thing to make that happen. So it's definitely about setting up a support system.
So for those online who couldn't hear that, the funding from Women in Change will help with setting up the program in Queensland where it doesn't exist, and that is for in Brisbane for 3 correctional facilities. It's a person to mentor and get the volunteers going. So we've clarified that. Awesome. Okay. Amanda from Toowoomba. I'm a Toowoomba girl, so I'm really excited to hear about this. From Toowoomba Women's Collective, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Amanda Dalton and I am the founder and CEO of Protea Place, Women's Support Centre in Toowoomba. A little bit about Toowoomba. We have about 160,000 people. We have beautiful tree-lined streets. We have cold winters. We have amazing private schools. And we have a few retired millionaires as well. We also have the largest number of children in state care. We have the largest refugee settlement for the state apart from Brisbane. We are number 10 in the state for domestic violence orders. We have no crisis accommodation for single women, and until recently, we had no women's support centre. I've worked in the human services sector for over 20 years and have seen firsthand the gaps and unmet need in supporting women. In 2018, I was working for a large funded charity organisation managing their accommodation program, when I saw more and more women coming in the door for support. And I had to tell them that we couldn't help. We weren't funded for that. They would then ask me, is there anywhere I can go to have a shower, wash my clothes, charge my phone and connect with support? And again, I'd have to say, sorry, there isn't anywhere. These women were sleeping in cars, staying in unsafe situations, couch surfing, and it wasn't uncommon to hear stories of women being asked to provide sexual favours to keep a roof over their head. These women were truly the hidden homeless. They were women of all ages, but many were in their 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s. With women over 55 being the fastest growing group within homelessness nationally, I knew Toowoomba was not immune. So I set about writing a model that would provide support in the absence of immediate accommodation, but with a strong focus on getting women housed quickly. I designed the model on what women had told me that they needed, where the gaps were, and based on what I'd seen in my years in the sector. I then proudly presented this to my regional and state manager and was promptly told it's not our focus. But I'd seen the need and it was very much my focus, and I knew I couldn't turn my back on these women. So what's a girl to do? I chucked in my job and I gathered a group of influential and tenacious women around me, and created the Toowoomba Women's Collective Incorporated. We created a strong business plan and strategy. We found the perfect venue, but with no money yet, we had to find a way to move things forward. Then 2 local construction companies offered to pay our rent for the first 2 years to help us get up and running. The entire community then gathered around us and we completed a full makeover of the venue to create an amazing and homely space. We quickly raised $125,000, the figure that we knew we needed to fund the program part-time for the first 12 months. We opened Protea Place in September last year, just 12 months from inception. As more donations flowed in, we were then able to open a 3rd day, and then after a little while, went to 5 days, all within 6 months of opening. In our first 12 months of operation, we have assisted more than 1,100 presentations of women for support. Assisting women with everything from housing, meals, showers, laundry, clothing, employment, legal referrals, child safety support, and women coming out of prison with no support. Funded services noticed what a great job we were doing and quickly started referring all their clients to us too. When COVID hit, we were one of only 2 unfunded frontline services left at the front line. We also noticed that when women were finally allocated housing, they generally had nothing to go in the property. So we created the Welcome Home project, where we collect and coordinate quality furniture and household items. We then send in a team of volunteers to completely set up the house and make it a home. We've completed 24 of these since March this year. We're now just going to watch a little video with a bit more info about Protea. If it works.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We started the idea for Protea Place back in 2018, and we were just seeing a bit of a change in the demographic and the people that were coming forward for support. And something that was really jumping out to us was the amount of single women without accompanied children. These women were quite often older women, so into their late 40s, 50s, 60s. And they were women that had never experienced homelessness before. Fast forward 12 months from then, and I had basically written the model of Protea Place. Prior to here, I was doing a lot of youth work, so I thought I'm going to try the upper end of the scale and maybe help the mums, and maybe that then would fall down and help the children. With women, it's more a hidden homelessness. They don't tend to be on the streets, it's unsafe. They might sleep in cars, caravans, couch surfing, sometimes even just staying in a domestic relationship. In amongst all the flurry of trying to assist people with housing and income support and trauma and counselling and whatever they needed, quite often the person at the centre of that was really being forgotten. They didn't have access to the basics. The basic human rights, being able to have a shower, to have a meal, just to connect with someone and feel a part of something.
Protea Place is a place that I can come, somewhere that's safe, a warm environment. I can come and feel comfortable and forget about my troubles for a few hours.
Protea Place means a safe place. When you walk through the door, you get a sense of relief.
All my life I've been from place to place, and this is the first place that I feel so comfortable. And I would say that to any woman that wants to come here, that it's okay. I was scared too.
The relationship that the Housing Hub has with the Protea Place is that it's an indispensable and key referral point for us. When we have women who present to the Hub not knowing where to turn, one of our first recommendations is to ask for those women to go to Protea Place, have some time out in a very supportive environment, and then we find when they come back they're in a whole different space.
Being Toowoomba's only women's support centre, we get up to 23 women a day. So we initially started on just 2 days a week, 4 hours a day, and quickly expanded to be able to offer services across 5 days. In the short time that we've been operating, we've had women housed, we've had women secure employment, we have women that were really struggling with social isolation. Those women are now an active part of this program. There's referrals to everything from support to housing support, trauma counselling, whatever they may need.
It's all positive. From here, step, you go forward. Even if you go steps back, you can always reach that where you want to go. It's just up to me if I want to do it. And I realise this now that I do have the confidence and I am worth it. And I only learned that coming here that I am worth it. And that's a feeling I've never had before, that I've actually felt worthy. I absolutely love that feeling, because life's too short not to feel like that. This place has given that to me on every level.
I now have my own place to live. I have part-time work. I have a car that they help put on the road. I have gone from this person that walked with their head hung, I wouldn't look up, wouldn't look at people, didn't want people to look at me, to this person that can do all that now.
People need to dig deep to help this place, because it's a powerhouse.
I think it's amazing what I've seen, the way they've actually come together. And for Amanda and the team to think of this and to actually implement it has been something that we as a community are very proud of.
The Protea Place is not supported by any government agency, so we felt that the local community should get behind these vulnerable women that were looking for support. And what resonated with us is that the demographic or the age of these women were very similar to our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, and that a call to action to support these women was important, and that's why we got behind Protea Place.
I think the biggest challenge for us is the ongoing funding. We are working on every possible avenue to secure grants, funding and sponsorship. We're really wanting the community to get behind us and be part of what we're doing. We don't just want people to throw money at us. We want them to come in and really actively play a role here and be a part of what we're doing for the community. If there's anyone out there that would like to donate, sponsor or support us in any way, we'd love to hear from you. Please get in contact with us. We'd really appreciate the support.
I can actually talk to people now. I don't feel like I've got to drop my head every time I talk to someone. Mondays and Fridays are definitely my best days, because I know even the night before I'm going to go to Protea Place and I'm going to have a good day.
Thank you. I have reached my time, so I'll finish up by saying that, you know, what will this do for Protea Place? It will help cement our second year of operation and continue to provide support to hundreds of women in need. Women in Change will be part of the fabric of our founding years and create a long-lasting legacy of a program that was created by women for women. I'd like to thank Women in Change for the opportunity to be here tonight and wish the other applicants all the very best. Thank you.
We're going to do questions. Thank you so much, Amanda. Who's got the first question?
Phew, I'm off the
Not that fast. Oh, yeah, hello.
So is the funding target for coordinator? Or?
No, that's me. So the funding will specifically go to employ another senior worker 3 days a week. We are bursting at the seams, and the level of complexity with the support needs coming through the door. So we need a minimum of a level 5 worker. So we figure that we're better off to have someone with a high skill level, get them in 3 days a week, because we think we can do a fair bit with that. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're missing now. We've got everything else. We don't need any more pads and tampons and toiletries. We are, you know, that's what we need. It's human resources now to get the outcomes.
Any other questions, Annie?
I feel like a nitpicker tonight.
No, please pick away.
What would, with the role, something that's always brought up is the longevity of funding that role once the grant runs out. So have you
Yes.
thought about that? Yeah.
So we're obviously only in our just rolled over into our second year. So we knew that when we started that we needed to pretty much try and find ways to fund ourselves for the first, you know, at least 2 to 3 years until we could secure some recurrent funding. And we're definitely getting the attention of the different funding bodies. But we have to be patient, and the only way that we can actually prove ourselves is to do it. Record the data, record the stats, and feed that up, and basically prove ourselves. So I guess, as I said in the video, you know, it's writing grants, it's fundraising, it's the hard yards, which never stops even when you're currently funded. So I think because we're in our infancy, this is that really critical growth period for us. And that's why grants such as this opportunity is just so important to help launch us into the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now the tricky part. We're going to hand around. Has everyone got their voting form in front of them? Yep. All financial members. All financial members have got their form, except for me. I don't have them. Okay. I don't have one. Yep. Who's missing? Who else? And once you've made your vote, Sarah will be collecting your piece of paper. We've also got the text line and the email happening for the onliners. So hopefully that works as well.
Sorry, I'm not announcing any. Sorry. I just thought I'll take this opportunity just to thank Hear and Say for hosting us this evening. This time next week, Hear and Say are having a virtual giving event, and it starts at 5:30, and people can register through their website. So it's a huge fundraiser. So please check that out, and also follow them on various social media platforms. That would be very appreciated. The other thing I just wanted to say is, after tonight, you think, oh, look, you know, they were all amazing, and not everyone is going to get 50 grand. But please spread the word. please use your awareness that you've been offered tonight and take some action, whether that be by contacting the charities directly, volunteering, whatever that might be, telling people you might know who might be interested in funding organisations, because amazing things have come out of this group of women over the years, and other funding has been made available. As you've seen tonight, someone's just offered $1,000 grand extra. So it really is something to really treasure, and thank you for all being part of it. So I just want to remind everyone as well, and I did like that fellow, whoever he was, in the Protea video, saying it's a bit of a call to action, I think, and we're seeing more and more vulnerable Queenslanders, and we will see more next year, despite what the share market's doing, despite what the housing market's doing. So it really is a challenge for us, at least, to try and double our membership. We got to 68 this year. So each and every one of you, just please spread the word and keep at the forefront of your mind the goal that we can do this. And it's clearly a sustainable operation going for 6 years. So please take that challenge on. Okay, I'm going to go and find out how we're going.
I do have the results. And
there's no places, we don't do that. We just announce the winner of the 2020 Women and Change grant goes to Protea Place.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. That's really overwhelming. We feel absolutely privileged beyond belief to have your support as well. It's the grant will help with obviously the financial aspect and the give us the means to continue to do what we're doing and support even more women. But it's actually having the support of Women and Change alongside us on the journey, which is equally as important. And there is opportunities for any of the members to come up and visit and spend some time with us, because that's how we roll up there, is that there is always a place for anyone at our table. We have drop-in Monday, Wednesday and Friday, where we have a chef prepare the most amazing food. I've put on about 20 kilos. Her cakes are incredible. And basically, when we sit down at that dining room table, we're all just women. We now have, we've been approached by Queensland Corrections, we now have probation and parole sitting in Protea Place on Wednesdays, because they said, well, the women keep turning up. So they come there and report in and have lunch and connecting with support and have a really lovely time and are engaged. And so it's quite interesting when we have workers and the women and all of us, and we all just sit there together and have a laugh and have a great time. So hopefully Monday, some of you guys will be able to come up, see it in action, because that's where it really, we have so many people go, oh, I get it now. So feel really honoured, and the other applicants, I'm glad I wasn't one of the judges, because you guys are doing amazing stuff, and I'd love to connect with you guys, because there was some really nice flow with all of our work, and big believer in collaboration. So no matter where we are, I'm sure we can connect in and support each other as well. Thank you.
I would also like to, for everyone, just to thank the other two finalists. This was and be sure that hopefully people here in the room will stay involved, stay interested in Right by Your Side and For Voices. So thanks everyone. See you at Kettle and Gin.